I think if women took more lead in this kind of industry and got a bit more knowledge about what is happening, or be a bit more aware, everyone, not women, everyone, we could lead to a healthier relationship with each other and with ourselves. Yeah.
À ce male gaze, pas mal de gays ont été opposés, qui vont venir y répondre en aide des subversions pour sortir justement de cette hégémonie, de cette domination esthétique.
There's the queer gaze, there's the cisgender gaze, there's the female gaze. There is this vegan supporting carno-heterotopic, I can't even remember the terminology, but it's a type of gaze that posits that human males are at the top of the food chain.
On en a plein en ce moment, et ce qui m'intéresse justement, c'est de voir comment à cette hégémonie male gaze, qui nous parle d'une pyramide sociale, finalement c'est peut-être aussi la multiplicité qui répond le mieux à cette hégémonie, c'est-à-dire l'ensemble des gays comme autant de façons d'être au monde, et d'être peut-être ensemble au monde contre un modèle esthétique, mais aussi économique, social, qui exploite, maltraite et fait courir le monde à sa perte.
This concept has gotten a lot of mileage because it's very useful for trying to understand what happens when bodies and personas and genders and people are imaged by technologies that have a long history and a gendered history, but also are tied to the power of looking, the power of defining, the power of marking as a thing to be consumed as an object or as a visual pleasure.
Et dans l'exemple le plus parlant, c'est celui du female gaze qu'a proposé Iris Bray en France dans ce livre, Le regard féminin, une révolution à l'écran. Je vais essayer de pas mettre mon doigt sur le titre. Et dans celui-ci, Iris Bray propose donc un concept de female gaze qui n'est pas un équivalent du male gaze strict, c'est-à-dire ce n'est pas un male gaze pour femmes. Par exemple, quand les femmes se mettraient à reluquer des mecs ou à reluquer d'autres femmes avec des objectifications, le but c'est de proposer d'autres esthétiques qu'elle va repérer dans des films. Et notamment, le female gaze, il va se fonder sur un partage d'une expérience féminine avec des thèmes souvent féminins mais pas exclusivement. Par exemple, l'accouchement, alors malheureusement le viol, l'orgasme, des amitiés entre femmes, donc des choses qui vont sortir aussi des histoires dominantes, parce qu'Iris Bray, elle ne reprend pas le modèle psychanalytique de Laura Mulvey, elle va plutôt reprendre un modèle phénoménologique issu de la branche de la philosophie qu'on appelle la phénoménologie, qui est fondée sur les perceptions. Et là, on va avoir quelque chose qui est très différent du male gaze, c'est-à-dire qu'on passe d'un regard de surplomb à un regard qui va être plutôt du côté d'un partage. Bon, j'ai aussi proposé un autre concept qui est celui du feminist gaze, un gaze fondé sur un refus des assignations dévalorisantes des femmes à la nature, un refus de ce surplomb esthétique, et qui va aussi prendre en compte finalement les femmes en tant que classe. Donc moi je m'éloigne un peu des critères de perception, c'est plus facile peut-être dans des textes, mais qui va aussi amener quelque chose qui va être peut-être plus pas forcément frontal et en opposition avec le male gaze, parfois aussi un peu trollesque, qui peut par exemple pasticher le male gaze pour s'en écarter. Et ça, c'est des choses qu'on peut retrouver aussi dans des mouvements actuels comme le camp, comme la revendication d'être une cagole de manière ironique et pour soi.
Here to take part, no, I'm here to take over. When I'm finished with you, I'm gonna push you in a stroller. I'm not here for cops, and I'm not here for no soldier. I'm here to fuck Destination and cause a commotion. Sag dann Nummer 1, weil ich bin wütend und nie sober. Respekt, ich hab kein, jetzt sag nicht, I never told you.
So the male gaze traditionally preceded the female gaze insofar as if you look at the gender makeup of filmmaking and fashion photography, historically it was dominated by male, what my gender fluid compatriots called AMAB, people who were assigned male at birth. So let's just call them men for the sake of this documentary. And the female gaze takes on a more agential, as in ready to act, able to act view of the female in the fashion photography setting, both behind the camera and in front of the camera. We have a more dynamic and holistic presentation of AFAB. Let's just call them female for the sake of this documentary, people in the fashion photograph.
I recognize the female gaze in fashion photography, yeah, and also male gaze definitely, because the way that women are showing or planning their shoots, it's super different. If you take a look like in magazines even, or different places, different social medias, even though you don't really see so many shoots that women falls complete behind the shoot, sadly. But it's quite visible because you are not seeing just like, you're not seeing women as a glass laying on the ground, or like you're not seeing just a body, you're not seeing just a physique, you see a bit more, or you see a bit more character inside of this person.
So the female gaze is associated with viewing women not as passive objects, not just as things to be looked at, but in fact, a human being with expressivity and things to say and power and confidence. And there is much more of a focus on the emotions or the feelings of the person. So the female gaze looks at the female body as active. And there are some discussions of female fashion photographers who have depicted female fashion models as active or laughing or jumping or joyful.
Embodying the female gaze in the fashion industry for me is about showing honestly how women are perceived and how women are as how women want to be. It's about not forcing them into things. I want to truly show who they really are, or what they want to be, or how they want to act freely without being scared.
It's a very intimate lens. Yeah.
The female gaze in fashion is more about self-expression, about feeling happy, feeling empowered. When you wrote me the request for this interview, you wrote a beautiful quote, which I have not yet known before, and it was that the female gaze on fashion is about empathy. And that is such a beautiful way of seeing it. And I think this is exactly what I also do. I have a lot of empathy. I love to be the observer in the room when there are many women. And I check exactly what woman needs to feel good, to feel accepted, to feel strong, who is feeling weak and why, who's trying to be sexy and why. So, and how much you can do all about that feelings with fashion, with the way you dress every day. And this is how I work with my photographer. When we do photo shootings, we see the person, and I'm dressing a person, and it's not about my outfit or the fabric. Of course it is also, but I would still want to see the person behind it. And this is what we always try to create and to reveal, a personality behind it. And it's more for putting more or underlining the identity of that person and not putting another identity on top of that person.
Like an example of we had a shooting a while ago about male gaze specifically on the very busy street in Berlin. I wanted to perceive how a woman who wants to do whatever they want to do, and I wanted to show how people are perceiving it, how people are seeing it, and how people are behaving towards this person who is just existing, who is just being how they want to be. That was a project I had, and it was quite very painful to see the reactions of people, because you always think that the world is getting better, people are getting more knowledge, people are getting more understanding over women, over femininity, over each other, even as human beings, and they give so much respect to each other, but it's really not that way. And there's a long way to go, sadly.
I was never inspired by the female gaze. This was something which came very intuitively. It is the way how I grew up. Luckily, I was growing up without a television, and instead of the television, I had this huge box of costumes, but not like beautiful princess costumes, but whatever my parents could find. And at a very early age, I learned what garments, what different looks could change your attitude, could change your identity. And I enjoyed it so much to slip into different identities. And this actually grew my way of thinking how to deal with fashion. What can it do? How can it change our lives? And this, I think, became my biggest inspiration. And what I want to create today is, or what I want to sell to my customers is this empowerment. Like, you can feel strong, you can feel safe. And I made so many experiences with myself, and now I'm able to give it further to other people. And I love getting the feedback of my customers. Like, they write me postcards like, I got this job because I was wearing your stuff, because I felt so strong. And this makes me happy. This is what I want to, create.
I think if women took more lead in this kind of industry, and got a bit more knowledge about what is happening, or be a bit more aware, everyone, not women, everyone, we could lead to a healthier relationship with each other and with ourselves. Yeah.
il y a des obstacles à voir se répandre des concepts ou des pratiques que l'on peut reconnaître comme female gaze, feminist gaze, queer gaze. Enfin, cette prédominance du male gaze, elle se fonde en obstacles concrets pour plein de monde, parce que des personnes n'ont pas accès au même poste de pouvoir, parce que le système est fait pour qu'il y ait un accès limité, parce que le système est un système de pouvoir qu'il est très difficile de renverser, et parce que en fait le fait de faire circuler d'autres images va être parfois récupéré, toujours au profit eh bien avant le male gaze probablement du capitalisme, et tout cela va rendre très difficile le fait d'avoir des subversions réellement dangereuses pour le système, et ces subversions, elles vont souvent être soit marginalisées, gardées en marge, soit récupérées par le système. Et les concepts aussi d'ailleurs. Et c'est ce qui explique aussi pourquoi il est si difficile de changer d'esthétique sans changer le système, on va dire, de production économique.
I don't think that this gaze, this female gaze, is sufficiently recognized in the industry today. And this is also a history. And there's also it's mainly the commercial aspect of it, because we all know sex sells, and you want to provoke, you want to reveal things, you want to be recognized by the media. And how do you do it? By shocking, by being sexy. And so there's this very healthy and more empathy way of looking at the person, at the personality, doesn't bring much money, apparently. This is what we have learned, unfortunately.
In fact, there is a researcher who has written about fashion models of color, among many other very, very interesting publications. Elspeth Brown, she's based in Canada, and she has written about this idea that fashion models actually exhibit a sort of parasexuality. It's kind of an almost sexuality. It's a semi-sexuality. It's an intimation of sexuality without being overtly about sex. So I think that's a very interesting differentiation we have to make with a fashion image, because when you don't look into the nuances of fashion and you just look at women in form-fitting clothes prancing down runways, of course you're first going to think about sex. But there are many more social and historical influences on that image that make it a much more complex kind of image to think about. Oh, and we have to remember that fashion photography with a capital F emerged at a time when there was a whole fashion system between the shows in the big Paris, Milan, New York nexus, Paris, Milan, London, New York nexus. The fashion magazines had a great deal of power in determining what was considered a fashionable image. Even though the fashion magazines were run by women, many of the photographers were men. So that male gaze in the fashion photography, fashion image world was a very defined set of standards and understandings of what makes someone and something fashionable. There was a way that fashion was very exclusionary, exclusive, and not available to the rest of us. Fast forward to the mid-2000s when the iPhone emerged, people had cameras in their hands, they were doing street photography, putting out street blogs, were putting out Instagram stories and Instagram feeds that presented themselves as fashionable, even though they didn't look at all what we would think of as a fashionable body or a fashionable image. Now we have this explosion of many different types of bodies. And we have, up to this day, many fashion influencers, content creators, digital creators who are not conventionally fashionable looking at all. They're not tall. They're not slender. They're not white. They're not even fully abled. And that is one of the reasons why I think the digitization of fashion and the growth of the availability of seeing the female gaze as opposed to the traditional male gaze in fashion is a great development in terms of making space for a diversity of bodies, many different kinds of bodies, lots of different fashionable ideals, and an opening of the ability to be considered legitimate and attractive and beautiful and fashionable.
I think we can recognize a little shift in the fashion industry. I mean, it's very slowly. We see the body positivity, so it's changing and it's very important. But still, the old gaze onto the fashion in the fashion industry is so strong, and it's so in our minds that it's very slow. But I think it's a very important movement. We need to learn much more to give the compliments ourselves and feel empowered, feel safe, and feel engaged to wear what makes us feel good. I have this example for myself years ago when I came out of a very toxic relationship where I didn't feel sexy, I didn't feel like a woman, I didn't like my body at all. I also maybe had little leftovers of that mother's generation that I need to look more androgynous to be a strong woman, and I started to discover my body maybe, and I was not in a relationship, and I bought myself very sexy lace underwear, and I wore it only for me. Nobody saw it because I didn't even plan to go into a new relationship, but it felt so good and I felt so sexy, although nobody knew it. And it was only for myself. And I'm telling this story because I experienced it, that we can do it for ourselves and how much joy it can give us, and that it's not only to please someone else.
Le féminisme est un sujet d'actualité depuis plusieurs années. C'est aussi l'objet d'un backlash très lourd. Et en même temps, eh bien, on n'atteint clairement pas tout le monde. Parce qu'on ne vit pas dans un monde féministe actuellement. Il y a quelque chose de fondamentalement pessimiste quand on regarde l'histoire du féminisme, c'est que c'est un grand mouvement d'impuissance des femmes. Et là, quelque chose est en train de se faire. Il y a peut-être une disjonction entre des théories, des discours et des pratiques, entre des groupes sociaux et l'ensemble de la société. Ça, c'est encore difficile à savoir. En tout cas, on est dans un moment très fort d'ébullition, de mouvement, mais aussi de lutte extrêmement dure et parfois violent, qui va basculer dans un sens ou dans un autre. Et je suis très très impatiente de voir la suite, parfois avec des inquiétudes, mais aussi avec beaucoup d'espoir.